Hey, what's going on, Hip Hop Universe? You already know Global Music Magazine is in the building. We're at Evo Lounge right now, where Coro just did a legendary performance, of course, brought to you by one of the pioneers, the man who brought hip hop to the Bronx, Sal Abbatiello. How you doing, Sal?
What's up, kid?
Hey, how are you?
So how'd you like Coro, man?
Oh, I love Coro. But now, what I want to do is, because we have a lot of fans, so we have a lot of young fans, and I want to just educate the fans and how instrumental you are in this hip-hop game. You know, you are credited as being the man who brought hip-hop to not only the Bronx, but to the masses.
Well, 1976, we had my family's always been in the nightclub business. We've been in the Bronx. I was born in the Bronx. I went to All Hallows. I lived on Gun Hill Road for 20 years near Vanda, and I played basketball in Evander Park. And my father had a lot of nightclubs, and we opened up this club called Disco Fever on 167 Jerome. And it first started out as a disco nightclub, but disco was dying at the time. And I ran into this this rapper named Sweet G. And I noticed that when every time he got on the turntables, the whole crowd would go crazy because he started emceeing, and the crowd was responding back to what he was saying. So I know, being in the business, I was about 25 at the time. I knew, being in the business since I was a kid, that I was onto something, because I liked that the crowd was responding to what he was saying. It made the whole club be as like one person, you know. So I asked him, where could I find this? And we go into the parks, and I find Grandmaster Flash DJing in the park, you know, plugged up to the light pole. And I just said, this is something I want to bring indoors and showcase to the world, because I knew it was going to be something special the minute I seen it. You know, there was disco and Motown and R&B and rock and roll, and I said, wow, this is going to be the next big thing. So I told Flash, I said, look, if you come into my club, I'm going to make you a star, because people are going to be able to see you on a weekly basis, not in the park. Sure enough, convinced him to come in. He came in with the Furious Five, and then hip-hop was born indoors, you know, and we showcased it to the world. And from there on, look what it turned into, the biggest music in the world.
Now, let's talk about the fact that in the movie Crush Groove, your importance, because there was a group called the Fat Boys, and they were like, you know, just like a regular modern day group that wanted exposure, and they were going to the club and they got rejected, but you gave them a chance, and you gave them a chance in a showcase which still continues on, which is part of the basis of our, like, you know, movement. Let's talk about that.
Well, actually, in Crush Groove, that scene is a true story, because we were having a talent show in the 5 boroughs, and I agreed to be a judge and go to all 5 boroughs if they gave me 1,500 tickets to give out to all my customers, kids, and everybody, to go to Radio City for a free show. So we put on this free hip-hop show. Radio City was the first hip-hop show ever. It was Curtis Blow, Houdini, Sweet G, and the Fearless Four. And then we had a rap concert. Now, the Fat Boys were from Brooklyn. So we went to all the boroughs, and we picked the winners of every borough to go on to Radio City. So Fat Boys missed it, and the Bronx was the last one, which was at the Fever, my club. And they showed up, so that was a true story, and they weren't able to get in. But I went outside, and I told them, let them come in, because they kind of look kind of funny. They go all fat. And the name of the group then was Disco 3. Yes. So they got up, and when Buffy did the beatbox, because we never seen nothing like that, the crowd went, me, Mr. Magic, Curtis Blow, Russell Simmons was the judge, and we went crazy, and they wind up winning it, and they wind up going on to Radio City and winning the talent show and getting a contract.
That is amazing, because, you know, what you need to understand is that this man right here is responsible for many things. His hand was involved, not only then, but still now, not only in the development of hip-hop, but also freestyle. So let's talk about the incorporation, when, like, you started to notice, like, freestyle. Like, I'm pretty sure you dealt with maybe like a Jelly Bean Benitez at the time.
Well, what happened was, with my experience at the Fever, I discovered Grandmaster Flash, Run DMC, Russell Simmons, the Fat Boys, Beastie Boys. You know, so many people did their first shows. They even New Edition. You know, on and on. So when the Fever, it was 10 years old already, and when the movie Crush Groove came out, unfortunately, the club had gotten closed up for no cabaret license, which is dancing license, which we didn't have for 10 years. So I was kind of like down and out, not knowing where I was going to go, because hip hop now had blown up. And you know, in '83, it was the Fever was off the hook. I had my own record label. My first record I wrote went to #1, Games People Play. And so now it's like 1980. Yeah, I wrote that record, Games People Play. It was my first record on Fever.
And what was the artist that sung that?
G.
And Sweet G. When I used to go to the Fever, I used to walk around and sing that record, Games People Play.
Yeah. And he actually, Sweet G was the first rapper ever to sing at Radio City Music Hall. He sang Games People Play. So I went to, when I went, so now the Fever's closing up, and now I'm like, oh wow, what am I gonna do with my life? So I'm in the park, Pole Park, and I see all these Puerto Rican kids breakdancing, and I'm like, wow. I'm looking at it, and there's a little DJ DJing, and I'm going to myself, wow, this is like Latin hip hop. Maybe this is the next movement. So I said, that's it, Latin hip hop. So I go over to the DJ, just like I found Grandmaster Flash in the park. It was Little Louie Vega.
Oh wow,
So
Little Louie Vega. I mean, if you don't know anything about DJs, you can start there. Little Louie Vega, the biggest. Before Calvin Harris, there was a Little Louie Vega.
So now we happen to have a club in the Bronx on Tremont Webster called Voices, which was a Latin Hispanic club. You know, Tito Puente was there, Tito Rojas, all the big Latin bands used to play there. And Ralph Mercado, legendary Ralph Mercado, who discovered Mark Anthony in there, he was the promoter there. And luckily for me, Ralph had just gotten a contract with the Palladium in the city, so he left our club, Voices. So when I told my dad was partners there with me, and I said, yo, why don't we bring in this new music, this young second generation Puerto Rican English speaking sound, and we'll make Little Louie the DJ. So we made Little Louie the DJ, and the club took off, and I made the first freestyle record called Please Don't Go with Naomi, which was like a Latin sounding disco record at the time.
It's a very classic instrumental record that you guys need to look up. Please Don't Go by Nairobi, which, if you ever saw the movie Crush Groove, she came in right after LL Cool J.
Right before.
She came in right before, but she was in the movie nonetheless.
Yep, she's a Bronx girl. I had a skating ring on 172nd and McCombs, and she lived around the corner, and that's how I discovered her. She was only 15 at the time. I made her go to the Fever. She won the talent show there. She got a recording contract with Fever Records, and actually we did a big fundraiser across the street from her house, and we renovated the McCombs playground there, which was shut down for like 7 years. Run DMC performed, the Fat Boys, Naomi, Sweet G, and we raised enough of funds to fix up the playground. But Naomi went on to be the first person who did freestyle, and it's gone on now. It's 30 years. This year's the 30-year anniversary.
And she was on Def Jam.
She was she was on Fever.
Oh, she was on Fever. Okay.
Fever. Okay. And then she went to Epic, and right now, freestyle had a great run from '84 to '93. Then it kind of died, and then I reinvented it in 2002 at the Copacabana when I realized, a lot of the artists, they couldn't draw people alone, but when I put them together at 10 or 12 at a time, they started bringing in a couple of thousand people.
Yes, yeah. Yes. What was the name of that festival? I'm sure, because I've been to many of those.
Well, the first one where I realized it was at the Copacabana in 2003. I had my birthday party there, and 3,000 people showed up with no radio or nothing. And right now they're doing concerts all over. I just did Radio City Music Hall. I did Lehman Theater. We did the Madison Square Garden. We did Mohegan Sun, Foxwoods. They've been in the biggest arenas, in the world, and they're packing them.
Freestyle music is in Europe, is that right?
Yes. It's all over the world, yeah. Maybe it's not popular where the artists go perform, but it's definitely being played out there.
That's great. That's great. Now, let's talk about, where the fans can, let's say, do research about Sal Abbatiello. And recently, there was the first hip-hop parade in the Bronx.
Yeah. Yeah, I was part of that with Fat Joe. Actually, I had another fever. We opened up another fever in 1992, and my DJs there were Funkmaster Flex, Tony Touch, Bobby Condors, and Doo-Wop. And I discovered all those, and Scribble, DJ Scribble. And Fat Joe got discovered there. I was his first manager. And Fat Joe and me and a lot of the guys got together, and Melly Mel, and a lot of the old school rappers, and we had the first hip hop parade. You know, it was our first one. It was very small, but we intend on making it bigger and bigger each year, you know? So.
And how did you feel about that? Like, obviously you being one of the biggest, if not the biggest influence, because you know, put so much into bringing this music to the forefront, because, you know, the rappers were doing it, but you had the tools to bring it, like, to the media at that time.
Oh, look, anything you do right now, you know, we're reaping the benefits of our legend. You know, all these rappers. I just did a hip hop concert at New Jersey Pack. It was DMX, Rakim, Big Daddy Kane, Slick Rick, EPMD, Mobb Deep. You know, we sold out 3,000 people. I'm doing a Fever reunion at Lehman Theater May 9th. And I have Curtis Blow, Sweet G, Soul Sonic Force, Bismarck Key, Fearless 4, Rob Bass, Sugar Hill Gang, T-Ski, Marley Marl, Hollywood. And we're going to have a Fever reunion because you know, these kids, I started them out. It's such a blessing that I discovered them 35 years ago, 40 years ago, and I'm still working with them today. They're still relevant. They're making money, and they're bigger than ever because the music today, a lot of people don't like the new sound and what's happening in music, so they're reverting back to the old school stuff. And these guys are doing well and making money, and I'm so happy for them.
So it seems like you haven't lost a step, which is great.
The beat goes on, baby. It's 44 years, and I'm still killing it.
You know what? Listen. This is the reason why we wanted to have this pioneer on our show, because it's people like this that motivate, inspire to take the culture. You know, we are the culture. You know, this is a culture that a lot of us, they said that we wouldn't make it, but we did.
Absolutely.
And this is the first hand, the iron fist that allowed us to get out there. So it was my honor and my pleasure to interview Sal Abbatiello. God bless. And you want to give any shout outs?
Yeah, well, first of all, my website, feverrecords.com, you could go on and see all the current stuff. I'm still very much involved. I own Evo Lounge, which is on Unionport Road in the Bronx. I'm very happy. And, you know, it's all about creating jobs. I've been in the Bronx all my life, and I've been creating jobs here for about 35, 40 years. A lot of the kids that came out of my camp, I'm very proud that about 4 of the kids who used to work for me all own restaurants on Tremont Avenue now. So whoever came out of my camp was taught well. They were taught how to have respect, how to give back to your community, which we have the Erica Roman Foundation, and we raised a ton of money for cancer. We just built a recording studio at the Children's Aid Society in Erica's name, which was one of my kids who got killed in a car accident. And in her honor, we keep this going on. So, you know, it's all about music, charity work, community, you know, sports. I still do a lot of sports. We have an annual celebrity softball game. We raise all the money for the for Happiness is Camping. We send kids with cancer to camp for the summer. So we're very involved, and it's, you know, I'm just very happy that I'm still relevant and I can still give back to the community and to the music and the culture. And you know, I'm a Bronx boy, baby. I'm still here. I'm dying here.
That's right. Very relevant in his own words, but I, as, you know, a new face in the whole game of trying to uplift what the hip hop movement, yes, Sal Abbatiello. You heard it first here, Global Music Magazine. We love Sal Abbatiello.
Peace.
Peace.
Global Music. Tune in.
One love.